Emily, a single mother, lives with her young son in the small house at the end of the street. Mark, Emily's ex-husband, with his aggressive and easily influenced nature. Sarah, Mark's new wife, is a beautiful woman, but full of jealousy. Single mom gunned down by ex-husband and his new wife. A quiet autumn morning. The small streets of the suburban town, where every house has a simple appearance, exude an air of peace. But that day, the peace is broken. Emily, a single mother, lives with her young son in the small house at the end of the street. Her tumultuous marriage to Mark ended 3 years ago, leaving Emily with psychological scars and a child to care for. Mark, Emily's ex-husband, quickly found new happiness with Sarah, his young and charming wife. Emily loves her son with all her heart. She works hard to ensure that he has a comfortable life. But no matter how hard she tries, the ghost of her old marriage still haunts her. The painful memories never leave, and every time Mark comes to pick up his son, fear rises in her heart. Sarah, Mark's new wife, is a beautiful woman, but full of jealousy. She couldn't bear the thought of Mark still seeing Emily for the sake of their son. Sarah felt Emily's presence as a thorn in her side, and her fear that Mark still had feelings for his ex-wife grew stronger. Mark, with his aggressive and easily influenced nature, listened to Sarah's instigation. Together they planned to eliminate Emily from their lives. Sarah wanted to deal with it completely, and Mark, although he tried to ignore it, was constantly influenced by Sarah, who made him decide to carry out his plan. That morning started like any other normal day for Emily. She woke up early, prepared breakfast for her son before taking him to school. Sunlight filtered through the window, shining on her gentle face. Emily was busy in the kitchen, preparing fried eggs that her son loved. It was a normal morning, like any other morning, nothing out of the ordinary to foretell the horror that was about to happen. A knock on the door made Emily look up. She looked at the clock, a little surprised. It was still early for someone to be visiting. She put down the pan, wiped her hands on her apron, and went to open the door. When the door opened, Emily saw Mark standing there, his face expressionless. Beside him was Sarah, her eyes cold. Emily was taken aback by their appearance, but before she could say anything, Mark pulled out a gun. In that moment, time seemed to stop. Emily looked straight at them, in confusion and fear. The gunshot rang out, shattering the quiet space. She collapsed to the floor. Sarah stood there, her eyes fixed on Emily's lifeless body, as if she were admiring a work of art she had just created. Mark and Sarah quickly left the scene. They left the small house with the door wide open, filled with eerie silence. Emily was dead, and their plan seemed perfect. Shortly after the gunshots, neighbors called the police. The first to arrive at the scene were 2 local police officers. When they arrived, the house was eerily quiet. They found the front door wide open, and inside Emily's body lying on the floor. Her body was cold, and the obvious bullet wounds on her body suggested that this was no accident. An officer immediately called the police station, reporting the incident. Detectives were dispatched to the scene. It didn't take long for the investigation team to realize that this was a targeted murder. There were no signs of struggle at the scene. Emily probably never expected the person who knocked on her door that morning to bring death. The detectives began investigating Emily's life. Neighbors provided a lot of useful information. Everyone knew about Emily's troubled marriage to Mark, as well as the presence of Sarah in Mark's life. Some neighbors recalled hearing heated arguments between Mark and Emily, even after their divorce. Upon further investigation, detectives discovered text messages from Mark on Emily's phone. The content of these messages was not something to be ignored. They were full of threats, implying that Mark was unhappy with the way Emily was raising their son. Some of the messages even mentioned that he would do something if Emily did not change. These threats became crucial evidence. The investigation team began to focus on Mark and Sarah, but the couple had disappeared without a trace. The police went to their house, but it was empty. It seemed that Mark and Sarah had planned their escape carefully, they had prepared in advance, even after killing Emily. Mark and Sarah became the targets of a nationwide manhunt. Word spread about the couple, and the police began a massive manhunt. The police believed that Mark and Sarah were hiding in a small town or remote area where they could remain undetected for long periods of time. Over the next few weeks, the police received numerous reports from people all over the place. Each tip was carefully considered, but not all were accurate. There were times when they thought they had caught Mark and Sarah's trail, only to be disappointed when they followed a false lead. However, the police's patience finally paid off. After nearly a month of searching, they received information from a resident of a small town hundreds of miles away who claimed to have seen a couple who looked very much like Mark and Sarah. The police immediately took action. They formed a task force, working with the local police in that town. A secret arrest was carried out, leaving no chance for Mark and Sarah to escape. When they were caught, Mark and Sarah tried to deny all guilt. They insisted that they were innocent, that they had nothing to do with Emily's death. But faced with irrefutable evidence, both of them eventually confessed to their crimes. Sarah, who had initially only wanted to remove Emily from her life, now had to face the terrible consequences of jealousy and hatred. Mark, who was willing to end his ex-wife's life to escape the haunting of his broken marriage, could not escape the sentence the law had given him. In court, Mark and Sarah were convicted of murder. Their sentence was long years in prison, where they would have to face the crimes they had committed. But no matter how harsh the sentence, it cannot ease the pain they have left in Emily's son. The boy, now motherless, will live with the haunting memory of that fateful morning for the rest of his life. Don't take your eyes off the screen because we have many other interesting cases for you to watch. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. Don't forget to like, share, and follow the channel to support us. See you again in the next video.